So this is what we're working on for doing testing with FileMaker server in general, but also more specifically with our FileMaker framework called Karbon. So Karbon is a separated system. We've got a UI file, we've got a data file, we've got a number of other files. I'm not going to cover all those in particular, but I want to show a couple things that are important. External data sources, I want to look at the data file. Notice that it has a reference here that's a variable. What that means is we can actually, at runtime, when we open this Karbon file, we can determine which file is actually opened in terms of the data file. So if we wanted to use a different data file, we could. We could simply set that data file variable, data file ref variable there before we open, as the file opens, and that would open a different file. So why that's interesting for a number of reasons, but in testing it's kind of interesting because ideally when you're doing testing, you really want your own copy of the database. So if you can bring down a local copy of the data file and open it up locally on your desktop, that would be really, really interesting. So we've got that working here, and let me show you how that works. So I'm going to open up a file called local launch, and this is going to have admin access to my server, but it's running here locally on my desktop. And we've got a Node app, a Karbon admin server running on our FileMaker server that will let me get a clone of the data file and bring it down. So I've just brought it down into this container field. I'm going to export it, and it's going to show up over here on the desktop. And then I'm going to launch it in test mode. And what that's going to do is close down the system and reopen it with our local data file as the file that has all of our data. You can see it now says local, and it's showing that it's actually, the path is here on my desktop. So I have everything else, all of the other files in the system are running on the server. Karbon data is not. Karbon data is running here on my desktop. So this is my own copy of the entire Karbon data file, which means I can run all kinds of tests and not impact other people who might be testing at the same time. So that's using, like I said, we have a Node app running on the FileMaker server that makes it easy for us to download a clone of the data file, or really any file, and then we can just relaunch the app using that local data file as the file that has all our data, and now our tests or any other things that we do are isolated in terms of having an impact on the data file that's living on the server. That's it for now. Bye.